Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Bhadram Karne Bhishnuyam Devaha Bhadram Pashe Makshabhiryajatraha Sthirairangai Stuštavagum Sastanubihi Vyashema Devahitam Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhashavaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedhaha Swasti nastarksho Arishtanemihi Swasti no Brahaspatir Dadhatu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vadvyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om. Mantra number 7 and 8, or 7, 8 together, what we call it 7. Yas sarvagna sarvavit, yas sarvagna sarvavit, yasyaisha mahima bhuvi, yasyaisha mahima bhuvi, divye brahmapure hyesha, Divye Brahmapure Hyesha Vyomnyatma Pratisthitaha Vyomnyatma Pratisthitaha Manomayah Prana Sharira Neta Manomayah Prana Sharira Neta Pratisthito Neradhayam Sannidhaya Pratisthito Neradhayam Sannidhaya Tadvignanena paripashyanti dhiraha Tadvignanena paripashyanti dhiraha Ananda rupam amrutam yad vibhati Ananda rupam amrutam yad vibhati. Yes. Yaha sarvagna sarvavit. The self is all knower. In general, in detail, I will explain these words, sarvagna and sarvavit again. Then he says, Yasesha mahima bhuvi. This is the glory of this Paramatma in this world. And divye brahmapure hyesha vyomni atma pratisthitaha. This atma, the self, abides in Brahmapuri, Divya Brahmapuri. Let me keep this word as it is. I'll explain you what exactly does it mean. This abides in Divya Brahmapuri, and which is of the nature of consciousness. That is one part. Second part, he says, Manomayaha Pranamayaha Sharira Neta. It is the self which is Manomaya, which has a mind as its Upadhi. Then Prana Sharira Neta, which leads the subtle body from one Janma to another Janma. And Neta Pratisthitaha Anne, which is abides in a physical body. And he says, Hridayam Sannidhaya. Hridayam Sannidhaya. It abides in buddhi as well. Abiding in buddhi through subtle body, it abides in a gross body. Tad Vignanena Paripashyanti Dhiraha. Dhiraha Vivekinaha. By knowing the self, these Viveki people, what they say, they recognize the self as what? Anandam, Anandarupam, Amrutam, as immortal, as nature of Ananda, and yet Vibhati, that which shines. They recognize the self as this. Now, in Shastra, there is a mention of two types of avidya. Okay. One is called Mula Avidya, and another one is called Tula Avidya. Literally, it means Mula means primary, and Tula means secondary. Primary ignorance, and you can say secondary ignorance. Or to be more specific, primary ignorance means ignorance about the self. And the secondary ignorance is ignorance in general, ignorance of the world, of objects and beings, ignorance about the details of the world, what the things are. That is called Tula Vidya. One is called Mula Vidya, second is called Tula Vidya. Yaha Sarvagnaha and Sarvavit. As I said last time, both these words mean the same. One who knows everything, Sarvagna. And Sarvavit also means the one who knows everything. But when they are used together, there is a difference in them. Sarvagnaha means one who knows everything in general, and Sarvavit means one who knows everything in detail. Okay? Sarvagnaha, Sarvavit. That means one who knows in general and one who knows in detail. Please understand. When these two words are used, they are primarily used for Ishvara. The self can be Sarvagna. The knower of the self can be Sarvagna, but knower of the self can never be Sarvavit. Only Ishvara is Sarvavit. Now just listen. Why and how? Okay? When we talk of the creation, the question comes, where was Ishvara? One thing is certain, we know, Yoyat Karta Sahatadnaha. The creator of a given thing has a knowledge of that thing. Gatasya Karta Gataknaha. Yoha Yat Karta Gatakarta Tadnaha Gatagnaha. Gatasya Karta Gatagnaha. Patasya Karta Patagnaha. Mathasya Karta Mathagnaha. Sarvasya Karta Sarvat. That everybody says. Ishvara is Sarvat. Okay. Here Sarvagna word is used, knowledge in general. Let's keep it aside. Now that all-knowing Ishvara, where does his knowledge reside? What is the basis of Ishvara's knowledge? Okay. Here it is said, Hridayam Sannidhaya. Where does Ishvara's knowledge abide? Now, listen this. If you say, Ishvara, just as our knowledge abides in our buddhi, Ishvara's knowledge abides in his buddhi. Okay. That means Ishvara has buddhi. Who gave him buddhi? And who created that buddhi for Ishvara? Understand? Buddhi is an instrument, like my mind is an instrument. So Ishvara has a mind. And if you say Ishvara has a mind, I mind it. I mind when you say Ishvara has a mind. That fellow has to be mindless. A number of bhaktas around him, and all bhaktas demanding all the things. He is all Dayalu, giving all the things, must be mindless. Otherwise, no sensible person can give these all the bhaktas that ask, and no sensible person can tolerate bhaktas also. Sometimes you wonder how he must be tolerating all these jivas, around him. Like other day I told, Swamiji said, that Puja Swamiji, I think I told in this class only. When Paramatmananda had gone to ashram, and we were, my older brother, he was studying in 70 to 75 batch. And so 75, 78 batch, 76, 78 batch. So we are forbidden to call him. And after 6 months or 1 year or so, 1.5 years, he permitted that you can call and talk to me. So I called him, and those days telephones were very costly. After 10 or 9 or something, you had a rate 1/3 or half the rate or 1/4 a rate. So we called late, and the number that I had happened to be Puja Swami Dayananda's personal. And I didn't know who is Swami Dayananda. I had never met him. So I called him, can I speak to Swami Brahman? This so-and-so is Purvashram. He says, why I have to call him? So I said, should I hold on, or I'll call him after some time? No, it will take some time. I'll get him. You call after some time. Now, those of you had seen that Bombay ashram, he studied in Sandipani. So kutiyas were at a different place, and then obviously brahmachari hostel quarters were different. And Swamiji never had that calls and servants, and the poor Swamiji went out. He must have called somebody to fetch him, and I don't know what he must have done. But I was so impatient because I was talking to him first time after 1.5 years. So soon I called. He said, no, he has not come. I have sent somebody, he has not come. Then again I got impatient and called. Then he didn't turn up because it was little away. And I was little impatient. So then the second time I expressed my pain. I mean, it takes a lot of time. Do you think it will take some more time? Please tell me specific. The phones were very costly. So I said, tell me specific time mentioned. No, you call after 5 minutes, he will come. So to be on a safer side, I called after 10 minutes. In fact, what happened after my second call, within a minute, he had come. He was sitting in his room, right in front of him. It was embarrassing for him also to sit for 8-10 minutes. And then I called, and he was very curt. And I said, what is the matter? Why are you doing that? Don't call, blah, blah, he said. And then the matter got cleared after 2 days. And he said it was Swamiji's personal number. And at night, 10 o'clock, I don't feel like sitting in front of him as a brahmachari. So better don't call on that number. Then he narrated. And he talked me after some time, and then went, and then he said to Swamiji, I'm sorry if I disturbed you. The Swamiji was reading with the glasses like this and said, do you think you can disturb me? Do you think you can disturb me? That was Swamiji's reply to his apologies. So the point is this, coming back to this, Sarvagnaha Sarvavit. He is all knowledge. Where does his knowledge reside? Ishvara is Sarvagna without buddhi. Understand this. Bhagavan doesn't require mind to be Sarvagna. Therefore, I said, if you say he requires a mind, I mind it. Swami Dayanji said, he is Sarvagna, and you cannot disturb me. I'm sorry, I disturb you. I hope you won't mind. Swami says, no, I don't mind. Meaning, Swamiji Puja Swamiji was so large-hearted, he had no mind for all kinds of brahmacharis and brahmacharis and devotees. Ishvara must be mindless, much more than Puja Swamiji. Whole Jagat is there with him. And there are faithful ones also, who had a mandate of Ishvara to kill non-believers. How much he must be having titiksha. Anyway, so Ishvarasya sarvagnatvam, Bhagavataha sarvagnatvam is without any upadhi. Because to have a mind, there has to be a creation. The question comes, who created his mind? No, he created his own mind. But before creating his mind, where the knowledge resides? The same question. Where was he before heaven? Where was he before hell? Etc. So, if you say Ishvara is Sarvagna because of his mind, then the question is, who created mind? Then you may say, he created the mind. But how did he create the mind? Without the knowledge of mind. Because mind, knowledge, Ishvara's knowledge resides in the mind. And when there is no mind before creation, where was he? Without knowledge. So the point is, the only answer is Ishvara is all-knowing without mind. Maya, Upadhi alone is enough. He doesn't require a subtle body. He doesn't require a gross body. And he being Sarvagna, all knowledge, Sarvavit, he doesn't require a mind. So, Ishvara knows everything in detail. Mula avidya is not there, Mula avidya, and Tula avidya is also not there. Okay? Tula avidya means knowledge, ignorance about the world is also not there. He knows everything in detail. He knows all languages, Tamil, Malayalam, Kannada, Telugu, Haryanvi, Punjabi, Gujarati, Marathi, Udiya, Bengali, all languages, including French, Spanish, Portuguese, German, all languages, and he knows all the thoughts of all the people simultaneously. He knows all the animals, where they are and how long they have to survive and where somebody is to die and when somebody is to be made prey. Every detail he knows. A wise person can be Sarvagna, or you can say Sarvavit only, because Sarvagna only. Why? Limitations of mind. Human beings, my knowledge, the basis of my knowledge is what? Mind only. Okay? So, buddhi, knowledge abides in my buddhi, and buddhi is limited. So, the knowledge of the details is limited. Just because one is a wise person doesn't mean he or she should know everything. Typical confusion prevails in the psyche of Indians. When you go to Guruji, Guruji knows everything. And Guruji should know everything as though they think, which is not true. Nobody can know. Okay? Because as long as you have mind, you cannot know everything in detail. However powerful your mind may be, there is a limitations to its capacity to know. Mind can know only few things in detail, not everything in detail. Understand? So, that's knowledge of everything in detail is possible only in Ishvara when one has not to operate the sense organs. One has not to operate the buddhi. Okay? Without buddhi, without antahkarana, and without bahikarana, without external organs of senses, and without internal means, antahkaranam, Ishvara knows. And that is Yasesha Mahima Bhuvi. There is a glory of Ishvara. Okay. Okay, so this is the meaning. This is what Jiva is. Even if that individual is enlightened, Jiva starts his life with both avidyas, Mula Vidya and Tula Vidya. Jiva has both. If he or she comes across a proper teacher and studies Shastra, then one can eliminate Mula Vidya completely. But in the process of one's own growth, one keeps on removing Tula Vidya, the secondary ignorance or ignorance of details, by learning, by operating sense organs and buddhi. But you cannot eliminate Tula Vidya completely. It will be there. Only in case of Ishvara, Tula Vidya is not there at all. Forget about removing. He need not remove, it is not there. And Mula Vidya also is not there. Now, one more thing here. So, one of the tradition, they talk of Vishishtadvaita or Bheda Bheda. They say, so Ishvara and Jiva are identical, Abheda, and there is a Bheda as well. What? Ishvara is Sarvagna. This enlightened person also is Sarvagna. But there is a Bheda. What is a Bheda? That Ishvara is Sarvavit and you are not Sarvavit. Wise person is not Sarvavit. So there is Bheda theory. They think so. They are non-dual and still they are dual, which is not acceptable. Listen this. Abheda is there in reality. Correct? From the reality point of view, there is Abheda. Non-duality. Consciousness is same. The Bheda is not from the standpoint of reality. The differences are the divisions. Why? It is from the standpoint of body-mind complex called Upadhi. Individual Upadhi and Samashti Upadhi. Ishvara's Upadhi is Maya and Jiva's Upadhi or ignorant Jiva or enlightened Jiva, whatever it may be. His or her Upadhi is physio-psycho complex. That being a case, what? That being a case, Upadhi Veda are not real. Very word Upadhi means it is incidental. Like one crystal appears red, another crystal appears as pink. The crystalness in both the crystal is same. So they are a Veda. But then there is a Veda in pinkness and redness. But redness is because of the Upadhi called flower, Japakusuma. And the pinkness is also because of the flower called rose. That means Upadhi Vedas are not from reality point of view. They are incidental and what we call them in Shastric Shabda as Mithya. Abheda is Satyam. Veda is Mithya. And in Mithya, whatever it is, it doesn't count. Therefore, you cannot say there is a Veda. You cannot say there is a differences. The individual and Ishvara are different only from the standpoint of Upadhi. And Upadhi being Mithya, the differences are also Mithya. Understand? Ishvara's upadhi is Maya. Jiva's upadhi is a given physio-psycho complex. And then Vastu, the consciousness, is one and the same. Upadhis being different, Upadhi Vedas cannot be taken as real Veda because it is Upadhi. The Upadhi means incident. Incidental differences cannot be construed as real differences. So really, there is no Veda. When they say Veda, Veda Vada, that is a Vada, theology. Vada means discussion point. They claim to be like that. When you say Veda, Veda, Vada, no. There is no Abheda, Veda. There is only Abheda. Okay? Yasyaisha Mahima Bhuvi. Esha Mahima Bhuvi. This is his glory in this world, in this earth. Earth means in this world, in this creation. That is that Yaha, the one who is Sarvagna Sarvavit, and this is the glory in this world. What is the glory? That is the glory. That means indirectly telling that he knows everything in detail. How? What is the glory? Yasya ime dhyava prithivyo shasane vidrutaha tishtataha. Please understand. This Mahima, glory, in fact, the whole Jagat is his glory. Because Jagat is non-separate from him. He only manifests as though as Jagat. He as though becomes Jagat, you know. Maya viva vijrumbhayatyapi mahayogi vayaspuma. Like of Dakshinamurti. He vijrumbhayati, creates. This whole Jagat is Mahima. The Pancha Bhutas are Mahima. Sun and moon is his glory. Space itself is a glory. Vayu itself is a glory. Agni itself is a glory. Jala itself, Udakam, is a glory. And Mother Earth is also glory. What is the glory? Mother Earth, how? Gama vishyaja bhutani dharayamya vojasa ushnami chausadi sarvaha somo bhutva rasat. He says, I am holding the whole earth, keeping it as. Okay. The glory says, he tells few things in this in Bhashyakara. But as I said, very creation, entire creation is glory. For more glaring thing or more vivid thing are enumerated for us to appreciate the glory. And as I said last time, he tells in the 10th chapter, Arjuna wanted to know the vibhuti. Keshu keshu ja bhaveshu chintyosi bhagavan maya. Or tell me your glories. Bhagavan says, he gave a list. And in the end says what? Wherever you see some glory, mama tejom shasambhav, it is my glory. Kim bahuna tava gnatena tavarjun. What to tell you? Yadyat vibhuti mat sarvam tatat mama tejo amsha sambhav. A fraction of my glory manifest as anything that you see as a glory. My glory is so limitless that to create the whole world and all the glory in the world is just a fraction of my total glory. So you think that way, that is my glory. He says what? Yasya prashasane dhyava prithivyo vidrute tishtataha. In whose rule the heaven and earth are held at its own place. They don't budge from the place. They do have movement. Sun and the moon and all have movements. Earth, but then earth doesn't move outside the route that is given by him. It moves accordingly, strictly mandated by the Ishvara. Yasya prashasane. Surya Chandra Masau Yasya Sasane Ala Tak Chakravat Ajasram Brahmataha. Sun and moon and the earth are moving without any break of a 1/1,000,000th of a second. It doesn't break at all and still keeps moving as mandated by Bhagavan. And the mandate is so clear, the mandate is so precise. As I said again last time, they remain in their place. They remain in their orbit. They never budge, little plus minus, whereby some changes, unexpected changes could have taken place. Fact that the life is possible on Mother Earth because the distance between the sun and the earth is maintained as they were mandated to be, as they were created to be, in spite of the fact that the earth is moving, rotating on its own axis and rotating round the sun in a year, completes one round, no change. And he says, Yasya shasane sarita sagarascha swagocharam na atikramanti. Sagaraha saritascha. The ocean and the rivers don't cross their boundaries. They have been given limits. They never swell beyond the limit. Even though there is high tide and low tide, but we know high tide will be only up to this much, except there is a tsunami. But tsunami also is glory. He creates a tsunami, and only this much tsunami. So they remain within the boundaries, stipulated boundaries, spatial boundaries stipulated to them by Ishvara. That is what they read. Tatha sthavarang jangamam cha yasya shasane niyatam. There are moving objects and there are non-moving objects, stationary. So those who are made to move, created to move in whatever pattern that has been given to that object, they move exactly in that pattern, exactly in that pace, and exactly that way, in the direction in which they are created. And jangamam sthavaram cha, those who are motionless, those who are created not to move, they don't move also. Like the mountains. In Sanskrit, they are called nagaha. Nagachyati iti nagaha. It doesn't move at all. It doesn't move. Full stop. It is created not to move. It is as though ordained not to move. Remains sthavaram. And it doesn't move at all. That is the glory of Yeshwara. So, the wind that is mandated to keep moving, it keeps moving. And the earth is mandated not to move except the trajectory given to it. It doesn't go beyond that. So that is the glory. Even karma phala is glory. Just look at your life. So many things you got it unexpected or unimagined. Some of you have been abroad. Those of you married, you never imagined that you would be married to this person and you would be living in this place. You would be having this family. It is just given. As Puja Swamiji often used to say, everything is given. The body is given. We were all blessed. This is when you look at the mirror in the morning every day, first time, you remember this, what you see is a glory. All of us were born as small babies, 3 feet to 3 kg, 3.5 kg baby, and just 1.25 quarter feet tall. But that it had a potential to grow as I look this much, 4 feet, 6, 8 inches, 7 inches, 5 feet, whatever the height may be. All the features in each and every organ grew up. That's a glory. Without any initiative on your part and without any effort on your part. We put in effort only to grow hair and nails. That also we don't grow. We don't cut it. That's all. You don't grow hair. You don't, they say, I like to grow my hairs. But you don't grow it. It grows it. The hair on the head itself is glory. The food that you eat nourishes the entire body. That is a glory. If you have eyes weak and they say eyes need a supplement, doctor will prescribe some different medicine. If you have some kidney issues and either to strengthen the kidney, they will give different medicine. For strengthening the digestive system, different medicine. For strengthening the lungs, it's a different medicine. For strengthening ears, different medicine. Everything, each and every organ gets what all it needs from this simple staple food of chapati, dal, sabji. And in between you eat some green chilies that you like or some ice creams. And whatever the food that you eat, Gujarati is it different, Bengal is it different, Southern people eat different, They eat lots and lots of rice. Even though in spite of that so much of rice, they remain not as white as rice. That is a separate question. But Gujaratis eat all the way wheat. And our villagers, they eat only that bajra and some vegetable or some chutney, and still all the necessary nourishment is gained from your staple food. That itself is glory. In any which country you live, whatever food is there you eat, this body functions, is the glory. Karma phalas are glory. As I said, I never imagined the resources that I have. At least none of you had imagined that you will come across a teacher and will be studying Mundak Upanishad. I never imagined that in my life that I'll come across Puja Swamiji, and having met Swamiji, I never could know him as I know him now. Even when I was studying, he's a great Swami, looks like something interesting, but you don't know. Unless you know what he taught, you know what he was. One should know the wisdom to know the Kushalo Bhakta, that Kaushalyam of the Bhakta, the greatness of the Bhakta, you can realize only when you know the truth. But to get an opportunity to know, to come across the teacher itself is glory. Karma phala is glory. Some of the comfort and luxury and pleasant things that we have, if you look at your life, this life, candidly you would confess that in this life we have not done anything to gain this. I don't deserve in this life punya. But Purva Janma punya was there. You did that punya karma when and which janma, you don't know. What karma I did, when did I do, how did I do, nobody knows. But still you get the punya. That connection of karta and karma phala. There is a vyavadhana. There is a gap between the doer and the result. Result might come after 1,000 years or 1,000 births. But then result is connected to the doer. That is Ishvara's glory. He knows who did what when. That's what he says in the 4th chapter. Bahuni me vyatitani janmani tavacharju. Many births have passed by of mine and yours. Bahuni vyatitani janmani me tavacha Arjuna. Tanyaham vedta sarvani natvam ved. I know everything. All your janmas I know. And I will know future janmas also, unless you gain the self-knowledge. Tani aham vedta sarvani. I know everything. That's a glory of Ishvara. That he connects the karma phala, that karma karta with karma phala. Karma performed in a different body at a different place, in a different time, in a different conditions. But he connects that fellow. After so many, maybe yuga, connects. Karma phala is connected. That is the glory of Ishvara. This is the glory of Ishvara on this earth, you know. Yassesha Mahima Bhuvi. And where does it stay? Look at this. That second line. Divye Brahmapure Hyesha Atma Pratishtita. Divye Brahmapure Vyomni Esha Atma Pratishtita. This Atma Pratishtita, this self, which is aparoksha, you know, I, that self, what you know as I, as that self. That when you say, when you come from outside and somebody asks inside, who is there? They say, I, you know, the Nabhiswara that comes from the Nabi. I'm here. Look at that in Gujarati, you know, that I, that Brahma Esha Atma, that I, this I. Where is it? Divye Brahmapure Vyomni Pratishtitaha. It abides in Brahmapuri, Divya Brahmapuri. And in the space obtaining in the Brahmapuri, it is that Atma abides, available there. Okay. Brahmapuri. Brahmapure is Saptami of a Shabda Puri. Puri, Gujarati Puri is different, you know. But when you say Brahma, Puri means Nagaram. Okay. Pure and Puri, Gujarati Puri is different, I said. Brahmapuri, in the city of Brahman. That's how they translate. No. Okay. This Vyomni, it means Brahmapuri means Buddhi, in Buddhi. Why do you say so? Atma abides in Buddhi. On the one hand, you say he is everywhere. Self is all pervasive. And now you say it is abides in Buddhi. How can you say that? Buddhi, it abides in Buddhi means what? It manifests in Buddhi as Chaitanya. The Chit Swarupa Atma's manifestation is in Buddhi. And therefore you can know the consciousness in Buddhi. Therefore, figuratively, Buddhi is called a location or a place where Brahman abides, means is available to be recognized. You can recognize Brahman in Brahmapuri, where Brahman exists, where Brahman is available to be known, where Brahman is recognized. Where you recognize Brahman, that is called the Puri of Brahman. Brahman is all pervasive. It is formless. How can it have a location? They say our God is formless. And where is he? God in heaven. Allah Jannat mein baitha hai. If he is formless, how can you say that he is sitting in heaven? Similarly, Brahman is formless. And how can you say it is limitless? It is all pervasive, that it abides in buddhi. It is in the sense that since Brahman is recognized in buddhi, it is said it abides over there. Tat buddhau buddhi upalabdhi sthanatva. Buddhi is a place, as though place as a place. Where Brahman is, as though recognized. So in buddhi, it manifests as awareness. So easy for me to recognize, comprehend. Whole creation is Brahman's manifestation. But I can recognize him, recognize Brahman as consciousness only when it manifests in buddhi. By itself, it is formless. In a way, nowadays all the gadgets run on electricity. You don't have to do anything. This our Apple, that device, you just give a command and it does the job. That is all electricity. Car runs on electricity, cycle runs on motorcycle or your bulb and electricity, everything. Electricity is in a way formless. But how do you recognize its presence is there or not? In Gujarati, the manifestation of power or electricity is light. Light is manifestation of electricity. When the power is not there or when the power comes, they don't say power is there, power ayo, power gayo. There's a light aavi, light gayi. When you switch on a bulb or a tube light, immediately it lights up the whole thing. You can recognize there that there is electricity available. Similarly, buddha, it manifests in buddhi, and you recognize Brahman in buddhi. Therefore, it is called location of Brahman, because it is as though obtaining over there, as though obtaining. It is gained there. It is manifesting there. Okay, is an awareness. In fact, every thought is manifestation of one non-dual awareness. Every character on a movie theater, on the screen, is manifestation of one electricity. Similarly, every thought is manifestation of one consciousness. It manifests over there, and therefore it is upalabdhi sthanam. It is a place of recognition. All pervasive Brahman, all knowing Brahman is recognized in buddhi. Therefore, it is said, buddhe pratishtitaha. It abides in which buddhi? Divye brahmapure buddha. Divya. Divya, this is another confusing word. Divya means heaven. Divi means heaven. Divye brahmapure. It literally means the Brahman obtains not in buddhi, but it obtains in heaven. No, it is not the meaning. And not knowing this Divya word properly, they translate as a divine consciousness. as though there is non-divine consciousness also available. And they also say, some of our Mahatmas also use this word, all divine souls, as though there are non-divine souls. Atma being Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta, where is non-divine soul? Everybody is divine. Even a apichedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittama. You are most superlative criminal, and not in this criminal for a given crime. There was nobody like you, and there can never be anybody like you. Gana plave naiva sariram sarvam vrijinam santarishyas. Bhagavan says you will cross all the sins by the raft of knowledge. That means Atma is what? Nitya Shuddha. And if it is Nitya Shuddha Asangaha, how can you say Buddhi is its location? As I said, Upalabdhi Sthanatva. You can recognize the consciousness in Buddhi. It manifests as awareness in Buddhi. And that space of awareness that is free from any thoughts is called Sakshi. And it is that Sakshi is called Divya Brahmapure Vyogni. Okay? Sakshat Ikshate Sarvam Sakshat Prakashate. It illumines everything simultaneously. It reveals everything simultaneously. Sakshat Ikshate iti Sakshi. So, in the space of one's buddhi, means buddhi itself, everything is within the space, but the space is within my consciousness, and the consciousness is there as though. Therefore, it says it is Upalabdhi here. Okay? So, Upalabdhi Buddhi is as though Upalabdhi Sthana. Buddhi becomes a place for you by which you recognize that Atma is there, even though it is all pervasive and even though it is formless. We don't say it resides in Buddhi, that residing in Buddhi, Yo Veda Nihitam Guhayam Parame Vyoman So Oshnute Sarvan Kama An Saha Brahmana Vipaschiteti. So that words, Nihitam Guhaya, it is in the cave of intellect, implying that there is ignorance. And when there is a light, it is called Divya Brahmapuri, light of knowledge. This word divine consciousness doesn't make any sense. Divinity, it doesn't make any sense. If at all it makes sense, you have a different meaning to that word divinity. When you say divine, no, Divya Brahmapura. Divya means it is self-effulgent, self-revealing. Diva means prakashe. It is shining, It is self-manifesting. It is not that Atma is sitting in Buddhi. It manifests as consciousness in Buddhi. Its manifestation can be in many and varied forms. You can manifest as whatever, as a teacher, knowledge of a teacher, knowledge of driving, etc. But it is not Puri as though Puri. And he continues further, Tad Vignanena. We'll see that part too. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. We'll see you tomorrow then.